Thank you for watching the Finance and Affirmations podcast. I appreciate you being here. Make sure you click the subscribe button so you'll be alerted when I post new content. Enjoy the episode. So everybody, I am so excited. I have Haylie Castillo of Castillo Financial Therapy here with us today. Hello, Haylie. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Catherine. I'm so excited to be
Well,
here. Thank you.
thank you. So tell us a little bit about, I want to just start this out from the very beginning. Where can people find you if they want to reach out to you?
Sure. So I'm a trauma-informed financial therapist. My website is castillofinancialtherapy.com, and I have a blog there, and please join my newsletter if you're interested. And then I like to hang out on Instagram as well at C_financial_therapy.
Thank you so much. So you said that you are a trauma-informed financial therapist. So can we break that down a little bit? What is a financial therapist and how is that different from a financial planner?
Great question. So, financial therapy is a specialization in therapy, psychotherapy that focuses on helping folks heal their relationship with money. So, whereas a financial planner will help you make the plan, like a budget, a financial therapist like myself can help you figure out why you have never been able to stick to a plan for a long period of time, or why you may have overwhelming anxiety around the plan and overwhelming emotions.
Okay. And so you just in your profession, did you start out as a financial therapist? And if not, what was your journey to getting to financial therapy?
I did not. So it is a very new field. So most of us here in the financial therapy world kind of found it through a little bit of a journey, and same here. So my journey was that I do have a background in the financial field. I've done kind of a little bit of everything along the way, some bookkeeping, small business consulting, payroll, accounts payable. And then most recently, I was doing mortgages and really enjoyed the people part of all of the different spaces that I found myself in. The pandemic hit in
Mhm.
2020, and I think, like a lot of folks that I've met, I kind of had a soul searching moment, of
Mhm.
I had recently become a mom as well. I have two little boys, and just the identity kind of shift that brings, and then the kind of the silencing of everything, the outside world that the pandemic brought for a lot of us,
Yes.
brought up kind of this soul searching moment. And I realized that um, I love talking to people about their money, and I also love therapy, mental health, personal development, self growth, and healing as well. And I found financial therapy. Yes, it's a thing, right? And I said, that's what I want to do. And so I kind of reverse engineered from there. My husband and I restructured kind of our lives to be able to help me go back to grad school and get my master's degree and become a licensed therapist, but all the while knowing that this is what my focus was going to be, was helping folks heal their trauma, heal their money shame, heal the things, their emotions and psychology around money.
Yeah, wow. And so when I first started following Haylie, I was so excited to see what she was doing, you were doing, because it is very aligned with what how I feel about money. And one of the biggest things for me is for my financial programming to be healing centered. And that is also something that me, just even as a associate pastor and things of that nature at my church, we're also trauma informed, and all of the ministry that we give and all of the financial literacy and things of that nature. And so can you tell us a little bit about, because let me just say this really quickly. So I realized I've had a whole bunch of financial stuff. I'm sure you have some financial stuff, but one of the things that it took me a while to realize how traumatized I was. I had been in the financial services industry, also had some financial challenges due to the 2008 crash, and I had to go through like a bankruptcy. I lost some real estate. I mean, it was a lot, and I was so full of shame around that, like so full of shame, because I felt like I should have known better and I should have done this and that. And it wasn't until I began to kind of dig through that and dig deeper and understand where that shame was coming from. And so for me, that's why the affirmations are so important. So can you just speak to that a little bit? Speak to financial trauma, how that affects us, and then how the shame kind of creeps in as well.
Absolutely. So I think especially as women, we are handed so many of these beliefs about our self-worth and how that ties into money from society, from our families, from our communities. We're just handed all of these beliefs. And most of them are tied to the belief that money has something to do with your self-worth as a person. And so as a lot of us, when you get into your adulthood and you realize that you never really received a lot of financial education as a woman, you never really received a lot of the financial tools or literacy, or you may have made some money mistakes, be in debt, all the different things, bankruptcy, gone through a divorce, and just kind of how that all affects your finances. You come out the other end with this huge amount of shame around it because we've been told that money represents your worth as a person. But if we can depersonalize the shame and we can put it a little bit outside of ourselves and start to ask, some of the really good questions to ask is, whose shame is this? Where did this come from? Who told me that, the amount of money that I have is connected to my self-worth? Or the amount of debt that I have has something to do with my self-worth? Where did that belief come from? Just get curious about it.
Yeah.
That can help you distance that shame just a little bit. And usually that's just enough to be able to start working through it.
Okay. I love that, depersonalizing the shame. I love how you said that. So you're basically saying, um, like you said, push it away. Where did that come from? And not let that attach itself to you, because you are worthy still. Even with a bankruptcy, you are worthy still, even if you have to pay off some debt. You are worthy still, even if you have some credit cards that you feel like you should have paid off months ago. I love that so much. And so do you have like clients that you work with, and how do you walk them through the process?
Yes, money shame and financial trauma are two of my specializations that I work with my clients all the time to help them unpack. So the process typically starts with just identifying those beliefs that we've internalized through our lives. And once you identify it, I think it was Mr. Rogers that said anything that is mentionable, or if you can identify it, then it's manageable. It's not inside you anymore. You've identified it, now it's just information.
Hmm.
And now you can do something with it. That's where your agency comes back in. And then the next step is to decide what to do with that information. Do you really believe that your self-value as a human being is connected to the number of dollar signs in your bank account? If you don't, then we can release that. And I love creating like rituals around these beliefs and releasing them, whatever really connects with my clients. But once you release that, then you have room to be able to replace it with a belief that does ring true to you. I am inherently worthy, that money is simply a tool. It's simply a tool. It's neutral. It doesn't have any feelings toward me, you know. It's simply something that I can use um for the things that I care about, you know.
Yeah.
And so once you replace those old unhealthy beliefs about money with new healthy beliefs, it completely shifts your relationship to it.
Yeah. Gosh, I just love that so much. You're replacing it with the affirmation that
Yes.
is aligned with what your belief system is. I love that so much. And so I just wanted to ask you, which is something that I ask all of my guests, what was your original financial education? Because we all have it, typically comes from our parents, our families. So what was your initial education? And then how has that either served you or not served you? And how have you kind of just lived through that?
So I was raised in a very loving household. Um, but like most people, it was very much a mixed bag as far as the experience. I was raised in the deep South in Georgia. I was also raised in a very conservative, traditional type of community. For a portion of my childhood, my family was actually in a cult, a high control religious cult as well. And so through all of those experiences, the very, very toxic ideas of patriarchy were very much internalized. Um, Very traditional. This is your role as a woman. And so I was handed those beliefs and that vision for my life, that as a woman, your greatest calling in life is to get married to a man, to have babies, and to become the best wife and mother and homemaker that you can be. And maybe you have like a little side business, or maybe you have something else on the side, but that's not really what it's about. It's about, serving other people, primarily men. And so connecting to money, I very much was handed the belief that girls don't do money,
Mhm.
girls don't do math. Not that money is math, right? But girls don't do math. And essentially, that women don't really need control over their lives
Hmm.
because you have men to do that. So that's my background. I was given some basic financial education in the sense of don't go into debt, live within your means, those sorts of things, but that was about it.
Okay. Which is more
Yeah.
than some people
It's
have.
more than a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Mhm.
Yes. And I recognize that that's part of the mixed bag. That's, some privilege that I had.
Mhm.
Um, but I wasn't really given the agency to be able to do much with that
Mhm.
until in my early 20s, through kind of coming out of that environment, started to really heal from my childhood trauma, really heal and grow as a person, and discover that I actually can have control over my life and agency, and I can create a life that aligns with what I want to do,
Mm.
that serves others, that's generous, that is, all the things.
Wow. And so as you work through that, you said you kind of started doing that as you went to college. So then in college, did you have some of the experiences that many of us had where maybe we got into some credit card debt or the basic financial, you said you learned not to get in debt, but were there any financial challenges for you as you went to college and then, you know, began to use your own agency and create the life that you want?
So not specifically in college,
Okay.
but during those years, it was primarily unpacking the belief that money is not for me. I don't need to, women don't handle money,
Okay.
basically. Um, Once I kind of learned the basics of like how to, that I have permission to handle money and have money and make decisions about money. I definitely did get into make some big financial mistakes, money mistakes,
Mhm.
kind of after that. So, I mean, oh gosh, I I think the biggest one was probably signing up for a timeshare program. It was called a vacation club.
Uh,
Oh, I know, right?
okay. You triggering me now, Haylie. You're gonna have to take me through some steps. Okay, go ahead.
Oh goodness. So yeah, I fell for the pitch, the beautiful vision that they cast of like being
Hmm.
able to, do these beautiful vacations and bring your family and friends and all that.
Hmm.
And $40,000 later, I realized that, that was probably not the best investment.
Yes.
Um, and so I I'm a firm believer that when it comes to money mistakes, 99% of money mistakes are 100% solvable.
Yeah.
There is
Yeah.
very little that cannot be resolved when it comes
Mm.
to making a mistake with your money. I've worked with people that have been through bankruptcy. I myself have gotten into $40,000 worth of debt with that and had to, put the habits into place and make the plan to pay that off. I
Hmm.
did. I've done other things where, joining a multi-level marketing company that just didn't pan out and investing a lot of time and energy into that. And yeah, you once, but a big piece of that,
Hmm.
being able to heal from those money mistakes and make yourself financially whole is the psychological and emotional piece,
Right.
because so many people that like me bought this beautiful timeshare idea. I experienced it so that money shame. I experienced that money shame so deeply after I
Hmm.
realized the mistake that I had made, that
Yeah.
I wasn't really going to be able to use this like I thought I was going to.
Right.
And so that shame kept me silent. I didn't talk about it. I didn't share
Mm.
it with anybody. And meanwhile, the interest is just accumulating on that. I'm just trying to make the monthly payments. And so that emotional piece was such a huge part of it.
Mm.
And once I was able to finally just say, let's bring this out of the shame shadows
Yeah.
and just talk about it,
Hmm.
that opened up so much more agency to be able to just, okay, this is here. It's just information. Again, depersonalizing it. It didn't mean anything about my self-worth. I just
Right.
didn't know better.
Right. Right. And for me, as you're saying that, because I had the same thing. However, I knew I didn't want it. And so it was a honeymoon thing, and I truly did not want to do it. I didn't, but I was like, okay. And so it became something that was very difficult to pay off, when you're in a new relationship and you just got married and you have bills and and thank God I was able to make all the payments. It didn't wreck my credit. Believe it or not, that's not the thing that wrecked me, but I was so angry every
Yeah.
time. So so I know, but like even when I was telling you about my bankruptcy and all of those things, that shame and not wanting to tell people, and I always tell people I was whispering. I'd be like, well, I had this little, and then they would whisper to me too. And so it wasn't until I was like, well, wait a minute, we're all going through this, but we're whispering. We need to stop whispering, talk about it, like you said, bring it out and do something about it. And so one of the other things that I struggled with, and I did not realize this until many years later, is that my mom had an experience that deeply affected me financially. And so, long story short, I was living with her. I hear her crying one night, like at 2 a.m., don't understand what's going on. And so I asked her the next day, like, Mom, what happened? And she had been laid off of a job she really, really loved. And she had misjudged when she was going to get the last unemployment check. And
Mm,
so the reason that she was crying and weeping is because she didn't know what she was going to do. And yes,
mm,
I was grown, but I was in college. I was bringing some money in, but not enough, and at the time she and my dad had separated, and so she was trying to figure out how she was going to pay those bills. And so I knew that, and I mean, she came out of it. She was fine. She's resilient like we all have to be. But I did not realize till years later, someone asked me about something I was doing, because by then I was like, no, you save, you invest, you do all of these things. And I was really very rigid about it. And
mm,
they were able to help me figure out, wait a minute, you realize why you're doing that? And they helped me to realize. And I said to myself that day, I don't ever want my kids to see me crying about money. I don't ever want my kids to have to feel that. And so it was like, but I didn't realize how it was, even though it created a good habit in saving, it was
mhm,
snatching my joy, because it was like, no, I will fight to the death. I don't
mm,
want my kids to see this. And so I know that you probably have other clients who have had those kinds of experiences.
mhm,
And there may be people here who are listening now who are like, wait a minute, that's why I do that. How would
mhm,
you talk to them about that process and getting through that and recognizing that?
mm. First off, that is such a powerful story. Yes, just so much of the behaviors that we find ourselves doing, the financial behaviors, they're informed by our context, by our life story, right? And I love that you're able to recognize that, yes, it helped you fuel your financial behaviors towards saving, investing, security, because you didn't want your children to ever see you crying about money. Oh, yes. But you've come to the point where you realized that that energy behind that, those actions, was also keeping you from experiencing joy in life as well.
Mhm.
So that's such a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. Yes. So many of us have these types of financial life events, is what I call them, where we internalize something about how to do money, how to relate to money, and what money means. And usually there is something good that comes out of it, if we can use good and bad. I don't really
Mhm.
love using those,
Yeah.
right, it's not all right, it's not all wrong. It's always a mixed bag. But yeah, if you've if you've been through, I've had clients who have been through homelessness, through,
Mhm.
scarcity, like truly not having enough,
Mhm.
to for basic human needs
Yeah.
because of the broken systems that we exist in.
Mhm.
And when you come from a background like that, most often you have to tap into creativity, to kind of this scrappiness, the resilience comes into into play. And those are all beautiful skills
Mhm.
that you can pick up from that. But oftentimes I do see that it's coming from this knowledge that there may not always be enough.
Right.
And so that's usually the part that needs some kindness and some compassion.
Mm.
And so if we can call that part forward, that wounded part that knows that this can happen in life, and wrap our arms around it and say, you're safe now. You're okay. There is enough in the world. There are safe people in the world.
Yeah.
And wrap our arms around that part with compassion and care. That is usually how that healing, that facilitates that healing that needs to occur.
Mm-hmm.
And because you can't force it, you can't force your way into healing,
Yeah.
right? It's gentle, it's compassionate, it's caring, and it's
Mm.
recognizing that that part of you served a very important purpose in your life as well. She got you out,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. That's so powerful. Because you think about, the places that are tender, like you said, to treat it with care. Those places, like when I tell that story, I get emotional still. That
Mhm.
happened, I think, when I was like 21 or 22, and let's just say I'm well past that now. But my body remembers, right? When you're thinking about
Yes,
trauma,
yes.
and so dealing with that in a place of care and digging around it, carefully,
Mhm.
is something that, again, for me, healing centered financial
Yes,
programming,
yes.
getting to a place where you can address it and look at it and depersonalize it and not make it a monster, and all of those things I love so much, what you're doing. And so I went to your Instagram and I saw that you're starting a group. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that works?
Absolutely. Yes, I'm so excited about it. It's a money healing group, financial trauma center or trauma informed
Mhm.
financial therapy group specifically for women.
Okay.
And I'm calling it your money relationship makeover
Okay.
because because a lot of us need a safe, warm space to engage with our relationship with money, to again stop whispering, like you said, stop whispering about these money mistakes that we've made, bring that again out of the shadows and depersonalize that shame. Say, oh yes, okay, I see what you did. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that you're bad with money. It doesn't mean that you're inherently worthless, have less value, right? And so it's going to be community centered. I will be facilitating it. I'll be kind of working our way through kind of my process where we unpack a lot of those money scripts or beliefs that we've been handed and picked up along the way. I'll give you the skills on how to shift those, release and replace those. And then we'll end up with what I like to call building your money practice,
Mm.
because it's a journey, it's a practice. It's not a destination where it's like, oh, I've got it all figured out and now I can just,
I'm
walk
done.
away. I've
Yeah.
arrived, right?
Right.
It's a practice, right?
Okay.
And if your money practice, the way that you engage with money doesn't feel good,
Mm.
let's find something else that does support your financial and emotional well-being. So we're
Yeah.
going to be covering all the things. Yes. And
I
so that'll be
love
coming up this fall.
this fall. I love that. And when you said something, because one of the affirmations that I say all the time, is say, like, I love to say, that's just like something I love to do. When I say saving feels good.
I
And
love it.
and so I know, like, when you were just saying you want to get to a practice that feels good, it makes a huge difference. And so you're a group. So where are you in the United States? Where are you located?
I'm based out of Seattle, Washington.
Okay.
But this is going to be a virtual group. And so it's open to women all over the US.
Okay. And is that your typical clientele? Are you typically serving women?
Primarily women and queer folks.
Okay.
Yes. And yes, if you've made some money mistakes, if you have that financial trauma, if you've got that money shame, then yes, I would be honored to help support you in your healing journey.
Wow. And so how long is that group? And then will you have other groups in the future?
This is going to be a 6-week group. It's going to be very interactive. It's going to be workshop style. It's going to start on October 16th, running through November 20th, right before the holidays. Let's give yourself a relationship makeover with your money right before we get into the hectic holiday season. Let this be one of your areas of life where you feel calm and confident going into it. And yes, I definitely plan to offer more groups in the future.
Wonderful. That sounds excellent. And if there is a listener out there who needs financial therapy, I can give you some great words. We're both in the financial space, but I think that people really need to dig deep. And so Haylie Castillo Financial Therapy offers you that opportunity to dig deep and get free from some of these things so that you can have the best financial journey possible. So Haylie, is there anything that we haven't covered about you, your offerings, any affirmations that you want to speak to people who are out there that you want to share with us right now?
I think the last thing that I would say is that the opposite of shame is belonging. So I would encourage folks to find community, find a safe community where talking about money and emotions is okay. Join Catherine's community, follow her on Instagram. I know you're all about building community and building that safe space for healing. And yeah, so if you don't have that community in your life right now, I would encourage you to reach out and build that, find that safe space where you don't have to whisper about your money mistakes, because that is where real healing can truly happen.
Wow. Well, I can't end on a note better than that. Again, this is Haylie Castillo. Can you tell us how they can get in touch with you again?
Absolutely. You can check out my website at castillofinancialtherapy.com. Please join my newsletter there if you resonate with what I have to say. And please follow me on Instagram at C_financial_therapy.
All right. Well, Haylie, thank you so much again. And I'm so excited to see your journey. And I hope to speak with you sometime in the future.
Thank you so much, Catherine. This has been great.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed watching the Finance and Affirmations podcast. If you haven't already done so, click the subscribe button. Until next time, blessings.